I have it at least.
So let's move it closer
So
so it gets it. But
we,
yeah.
just to kind of give you an idea of what the experience has been with 4 months, it's been a very pleasant experience. There's this perception that, for some reason that folks don't really get along, but in Richmond, I mean, folks really work well together. Everybody's very cordial. They do get along. So it's been a very positive experience for me. And our team has a really good reputation.
Mm-hmm.
So we have Holly Coy, who was in the McAuliffe administration. She's the Deputy Secretary of Education for K-12. She stayed around, so there's a lot of institutional knowledge there. And when it comes to education policy for K-12, there's probably not a better person. Like, she knows it better than anyone.
Yeah.
Really well respected. Then we have our Deputy Secretary of Education for Higher Education, Fran Bradford, and she's been in the education higher ed space for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
She was with College of William and Mary, and then prior to that with Sheb. So she is again really well respected. And then we have Rose Miner, who worked as a long-term substitute at Richmond Public Schools, and prior to that, she worked in Tajikistan for USAID. And then she's also a product of Richmond Public Schools. And then Chidi Uche, who's here with me today, and you'll be getting some quotes from her. Also, we'll give you her spelling of her name. But Chidi was with DCPS, and then with Arlington County Public Schools at Jamestown Elementary, which we were there earlier today. And the reason we brought her on board is, again, that classroom experience was very critical, because what I didn't want to do is just like I was very thoughtful when we were putting our team together, but especially bringing Chidi on board was such a critical thing, because we wanted somebody with that classroom experience, and she has a phenomenal resume, and she's been point on this tour. So we have a lot of things happening. We have a lot of policy work being happening. There's a lot of work happening with
Do you guys know which one I have?
yeah, can I get the apple pie a la mode? It comes with ice cream?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
That's the mode part.
That's the mode part, right? Is that the French
I think
version?
that's,
The mode? I'll get that.
Alright, anything for you guys?
Those French are funny, but
Yeah.
Don't need to get into it.
I'm fine, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, there, so the governor, has different buckets of priorities. So I'll talk about them, and then I'll talk about the tour, if that's all right with you. So
yeah, it might be interesting to get into Medicaid expansion as well at some point, and assuming that happens, where would that money? Well, I mean, obviously, a lot of people. We can get to this later, but I mean,
it's going to free up a lot of dollars for education. The way it's applied, like if you look at the fine details and stuff, you anticipate about 111 million of that will be applied towards the education space. So, and it's going to free up a lot of dollars. So it takes pressure off from other programs then that could be focused. That can help with the teacher salaries. Local divisions can focus on that and focus on school counselors and social workers and school psychologists. And then part of the Medicaid expansion of the budget, if it were to go through, is the at-risk add-on that will help a lot of school divisions, especially our rural and urban school divisions. It's really going to help those divisions with the at-risk add-on.
I guess pre-K is not. That would probably cost a lot more than that. Is it universal pre-K?
So pre-K, what's happening in the early education space right now is that the First Lady is going to be the face of early education. So Holly Coy from our office is the lead from our office, and her and the First Lady's Chief of Staff, they communicate almost on a daily basis with our policy team, and our office and the First Lady's office is constantly working on that. Under our secretariat, it was called the School Readiness Committee. There has been a lot of work done in the last few years by the School Readiness Committee, and they're coming up with some models and proposals on where we want to go with early education. In early June, you'll see some good announcements on where we're headed. So we're finalizing a lot of that. But there's going to be a lot of focus on early education. We want to get preschool for as many 3- and 4-year-olds as possible, especially for our most vulnerable kids. because research just shows that if we're investing in children early, they have a higher quality of life.
Right.
It's much more meaningful.
Well, it helps close the achievement
It
gap.
does
That's
help.
one thing.
That's
and then
one way
the
to close
school
it.
to prison pipeline, all that stuff.
Absolutely.
You got to start early.
Yes. So, but a part of that will be to really we're doing there's going to be a good analysis done to see how to consolidate all the funding streams and make provide a lot of efficiency,
Yeah.
and then it also invests more resources in that. So there's some good models like Louisiana had a model like that, and we're studying other state models. So there's a lot of traveling going on and studying other models.
Have you been to other states? Or
I personally have not, but our team has. So
Okay.
Holly has. Holly has. The First Lady's office has. They're constantly traveling and focusing on that space.
Are there any particular states that you feel like are models?
I don't think there's a single state in the nation that has done it really, really well yet. We hope to be that model. So that's the thing.
No state's done it.
In my opinion, I don't think that there's an amazing model out there just yet. I think there's some good models that are moving in the right direction, but from just looking at it right now, I don't feel like there's a state that's doing an excellent job with early education. That's
kind of sad, really. I mean, in the whole country, nobody. Wow.
I mean, again, that's a subjective opinion, right?
No, I know, but it's still sad.
So I feel like that we are, but the thing we have to be optimistic, because if you look at it a while back, there was no such thing as a kindergarten. Then we went to a half-a-day kindergarten, and then we had a full-day kindergarten. So there was that transition.
Yeah.
So we are moving towards that, because that was also not if you really think about it and look at it historically,
that's like 100 years ago, or what?
No, it wasn't that long. It wasn't 100 years ago. I mean, even if you look like 30 years back, there was no full-day kindergarten, and then many states, and then generally started a transition into half-day kindergarten, and then full-day kindergarten. So the thing is that this is very doable, very possible, and we do feel that there's a lot of support, a lot of stakeholders are engaged, there's a bipartisan support behind it, and how we package it. So our hope is that we want Virginia to be a shining example for the entire nation, and we will put together a great model in the next few years here that will that everybody can be proud of.
So this can be implemented during your term.
We're working very diligently to get it get it started. Yes, absolutely.
Get started at least.
Get it started, and then once we get it going and everything, we'll look back 10-15 years from now, in this time in Governor Northam administration, and say, hey, this is where a strong foundation was laid for early education. So that's the goal.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, we got on this.
So the second bucket is the teacher shortage. There are about 935 positions, according to recent data, that that are vacant, where there's not a fully credentialed teacher in that position. The biggest numbers are in special education and early and elementary education. But however, every school division is different. What we're finding is that some school divisions, there's a shortage of math and science teachers. That's a bigger concern.
Yeah.
As opposed to some school divisions, it might be special education teachers. So our approach has to be regional in that regard. And then part of that is that we need to focus on salary increases, which is a little bit challenging because local divisions control salary increases. However, we're trying to look at different proposals and plans to see how we can focus on that. What I have often heard is that doing a sustainable salary increase plan that's very robust is not possible, but I don't really believe that. I do feel that if we put our minds together and really work together, I think we can have a long-term sustainable plan in place. So we're working hard on that. But salaries are not the only thing. Working conditions are also another thing. For some school divisions, it's class sizes. From some school divisions, it's infrastructure. So one of the things that I'm finding is that also, like in our rural school divisions, there are a lot of buildings. Across the Commonwealth, there's a lot of buildings that are very, very old. But we've noticed in a lot of our smaller school divisions where there haven't been major building upgrades. Buildings they were built in 1950s, 1960s, and they haven't received, gotten much.
Are they in really bad shape or what?
They are in really bad shape with asbestos and so forth. So that's the thing.
So that's to take a huge investment to upgrade all our school
right? It is
facilities.
a huge investment, and this So again, the reason I mentioned that is that challenges are very different everywhere in the state, right? So we kind of all need to work together, but again, keep in mind that we need to have a regional focus in looking at challenges, because what the challenges you see in Lee County are very different from Arlington, or what you see in Eastern Shore are very different from Fairfax, so, or from Hampton Roads, or from Charlottesville. So that's the thing, is that from our perspective, there's not a one-size-fits-all approach. So as we are trying to make any policies, or we're having any budgetary discussions, we need to have that regional focus. And then the last bucket I wanted to talk about is using our education system and having a transition to the workplace is very critical. The governor is very passionate about career pathways, so that we feel that CTE and what he calls STEAM-H, they're
what he calls
STEAM-H.
Oh.
You know how STEM, you have STEM, the science, technology, engineering,
right, STEM, yeah, STEAM.
So
STEAM,
the A is the arts piece,
right.
and the H is the healthcare piece.
Ah, yeah, STEAM-H,
STEAM-H.
okay, yeah.
So
okay, you're getting almost everything.
Yeah, it's basically school.
We're gonna keep, it's basically
Right,
getting close. What are you leaving? What are you leaving out?
Yeah, exactly. But the
Humanities?
Is, you can use the H for humanities. You can use the A for agriculture if you want. But that's the point, right? Is that we want to focus on all that, because what's the thing is that there is the traditional model of an individual working in a career for 30 years.
Yeah,
that doesn't exist anymore.
Right. Gig economy.
Exactly.
That's what Mark Warner always talks about.
We want to provide more agility for individuals, and that's so they can have move around to different career pathways, because people are living longer. They're going to have multiple careers. They're already having multiple careers, especially the millennials and the Gen Zs and what is Gen AA's, Triple A's, whatever comes.
God, I don't even know anymore.
Whatever comes next,
we're
right?
losing track of generations. Yeah.
So that's the thing, is that so we're moving in a really good direction. We have the Every Student Succeed Act that was passed in 2015, and they just approved our the state plan. So Virginia Department of Education and our office received a letter from Betsy DeVos.
Oh yeah, Betsy DeVos.
Right, your favorite secretary
of
Michigan.
Yeah,
she's from Michigan. So the thing is that will give us a lot of flexibility, the state a lot of flexibility, and in return it gives the school division a lot of flexibility, and it gives it a lot of autonomy. So there's a movement towards away from the toxic SOL assessments, testing, the standardized testing, and more of a focus on performance-based assessment and project-based learning. Thank you so much. Wow,
that's the mode part.
That's the mode part.
That's a real mode.
Yes.
Mackerel. I just wanted to prep.
Thank you so much.
Oh, I know.
Dip your finger in it.
You have to tell them not to.
Come
No.
Yeah.
Too much honey cake this week.
Yeah.
No.
So there is a shift towards that we'll see in the next couple of years, and that's a positive shift. So everybody's bought into that. The Board of Education is bought into that. The Department of Education is bought into that. Administration. Everybody's talking about that. And so I feel like we're in a very good time for education, and we will look back 10, 15 years from now and say, hey, there's a lot that happened under the Northam administration that laid a strong foundation. So I really do feel good where we are at. So those are the three big buckets.
And how much of this dependent on money versus like non-money, like leadership and I don't know, innovative, ideas and planning and whatever. But how much of it's just money?
Combination of both things. That
I mean, salaries. You've got to just have. Well, I mean, I don't know. It seems like you need money.
State,
show me the money,
as
right?
As a state, I do feel. And in general, in our society, I don't feel, in my subjective opinion, I don't think we invest in children as much as we need to compared to other nations. So we do need to invest more in our children, in education.
The percentage of the Virginia budget, I know in Arlington it's half the budget. Basically goes to schools.
Yeah,
and only about something like 16%. I've heard that number, or 18% of
for education. It's technically
people
about
who live in
30.
Arlington have kids currently in the school system. So 50% goes to. So it's when you say not enough is invested. I don't know.
Well, but that's Arlington, and think about this county and how much money is concentrated here, and it's a rather small county, all things considered.
I think it's similar in Fairfax and other places too. About half the budget is education.
But Fairfax also has how many schools? Hundreds of schools, and they're spread out. There's miles and miles and miles. People in Arlington complain all the time, on the record, about how much money is inputted into.
I mean, I'm not complaining about it. I'm just saying it's
not.
when you say, because the schools could always use more. Look, teachers could always use more salaries. The schools could be upgraded. It's endless.
But here's my thing. People still move here to put their kids in schools.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's why I support, investment in our schools.
Right.
But you can't have 100% of the budget go to schools, and you can't keep. And like Arlington didn't raise its tax rate this year. Neither did Alexandria actually. Fairfax raised it a couple of cents. But so there's pressure to not raise taxes, obviously, which is revenues.
Right.
I mean, you can try to grow the economy. I don't know. I'm just kind of curious how much of this, because I feel like there are endless demands, and there are demands for healthcare. I mean, there's other areas of the budget too. So and I'm not saying any one of these is not important. Obviously, education's crucial.
Right.
Obviously, though, healthcare is crucial too. Environmental protection is crucial. A lot of things are crucial. You need to have transportation and whatever. And so, anyway, this could get into a whole other discussion about how you advocate for education vis-a-vis. You say you all get along, but and that's great. But it's a zero-sum game to some extent, or what? How does it work down there?
No, it's you have to fight for the dollars, and there's different priorities. The governor has his priorities, and the General Assembly have their priorities, and even within that, the two chambers have the priorities, and even within that, so we are working, very diligently to get everybody on the same page as best as possible. Try to see how we can best spend our dollars, and at all levels, federal, state, local. I mean, we just need to invest more in our children. So I do feel that. But I want to transition to the tour part of it, because the approach we've taken from our perspective is that. We wanted to go to all parts. There's 8 superintendent regions. So the Commonwealth is divided in 8 superintendent regions. So we designed our tour schedule according to the 8 superintendent regions.
What is a superintendent region exactly?
Superintendents. So there are superintendents, or head of the school division. There's 132 school divisions in the Commonwealth, 95 counties, 37 localities. There's 8 regions, and that was broken down by Virginia Department of Education a while ago. So even though we're focusing on early education, we're focusing on higher ed. Higher ed. The governor and I both care about affordability and accessibility and completion rate for higher ed, because our secretariat also oversees, works with all the public institutions, the 4-year colleges, and community colleges. So it's a big secretariat. It works with libraries and museums. So we have a lot of agencies. The Jamestown Yorktown Foundation is an agency under our secretariat. But the governor wanted to focus a lot of attention on K-12 because that's where most of our clientele is. 1.3 million students are in our system. So the largest clientele, K through 12, is in the K-12 system. 1.3 million.
1.3 million in K through 12?
Yes. That's a lot of students, right?
Yeah.
So 132 school divisions. So, but when we were thinking about how are we going to design our tour,
and growing,
yes. So we made a decision that why don't we plan our visits according to the superintendent regions, so we can try to blanket as much of the state as possible, and keeping in mind that so I've also been to the higher education centers and also a lot of community colleges. I've done very few visits to 4-year institutions. I'm going to do them, but that's kind of at the tail end. The reason is because we also want to focus on the dual enrollment, because that helps with affordability and then transferability of credits. And the career pathways, that's a priority for the governor. So that's why we're going to a lot of community colleges also. And I've been to 4 of the 5 higher ed centers already. Okay. Because they have also not been at the table in a lot of these higher ed discussions in the past. So we want to have them at the table too, because they're servicing a lot of the population in rural Virginia, and what they call is the horseshoe, rural horseshoe, is that what it's called? I have to get
Crescent?
the right.
No, there's the urban suburban crescent.
There's
a
thing that community colleges and higher ed centers have come up with. It's called they've come up with another term. It's like a horseshoe, and I'll send you the information on that. But the reason is that if you look on the map, is the accessibility regionally, it's not there for a lot of Virginians on where they live. So we really, community colleges and higher ed centers really serve that purpose really well. So we want them at the table too. But the tour is that we wanted to, we were 7 weeks in, and we tried to completely immerse in a superintendent region every week.
So which one did you start with?
We started with Lee County.
Okay.
We started with this the region that's the furthest away from Richmond. And we did our kickoff at Elydale Elementary, which is the furthest K-12 school on that tip in the western tip. It's actually past
sticking into
Detroit.
Tennessee or whatever it is, Kentucky, Tennessee.
Yeah, it's closer to 6 state capitals than ours, and it's past.
It's like south of Speaking of Michigan, I think it's actually, if you look
It's
at
past
it now,
Detroit. It's past Detroit.
It's crazy.
Yeah, so we wanted to make a point, and the governor was also in Wise County that day because. UVA Wise, he did a couple of meetings. He was at a community college there, and he was at UVA Wise with us that day. But our team wanted to send a message that we care about all school divisions, all children equally. We want to be very, very inclusive in our practice, and nobody ever goes out that far west, right? So we wanted to go out there and send that message, and then work our way in. So we've spent a lot of time in the Southwest and South Side, down in Hampton Roads and Newport News. Been out to Eastern Shore, been to the Roanoke Valley, been to Frederick County, Shenandoah region. And now, as we're closing with Northern Virginia.
Okay, this is the end.
Yeah, because I had a lot of familiarity with Northern Virginia already.
Yeah.
So we wanted to, get to a lot of the regions. So in doing so, we are taking a lot of notes when we go in. And then we're going to produce a very comprehensive report for the governor. We'll even make it public, what we learned. What things are being done really well, because I'm noticing that every school and every school division does something really, really well. So we want to focus on the positive. You know me, I'm always about focusing on the positive. And then also, see what challenges they are and how those challenges are similar and then how those challenges are different. So we can have a very comprehensive report, so we can have a great idea on, what to do next.
When is this report going to come out?
We're going to be done around Memorial Day. We'll be done. And we'll produce a report like early June.
Done with?
With the tour.
Oh.
With the tour.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so the tour will be done in about 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. Technically, we're on our last region, but we have a few spots.
We have some.
We have a few Central Virginia, kind of like not fully touched yet. So we have some spots that because of we have scheduling and stuff. Yeah. So we're going to wrap everything up by the end of May. We're going to produce a report in early parts of June, and then early June we're actually I'm going to be presenting we're going to be meeting with the governor and saying what we learned, what we gathered. He has his priorities, and then we'll see how we can take all that and fit that in the different buckets that I was talking about earlier. So we're very thorough in our analysis, and this is what our boss wanted. He's very, very careful in his approach. He wants to do this right. He wants to be known as the education governor because he's really passionate about education. That's that and healthcare are his top 2 priorities. Yeah. Those are his top 2 priorities: healthcare and education.
In that order. Medicaid expansion is. I would say that's the first thing.
I would say Medicaid expansion not only is healthcare related, but it frees up dollars and it helps education. So it's all connected. So he cares about people, and especially children. So he's, if it was up to him, he would dedicate a lot of resources to education. So that's what he's tasked us with. And then we'll, produce that report, make a presentation. Align all the stuff with the different buckets, and then that he could take that into next session and especially in the next biennium. So that's the plan. Now he's also involved in this tour, so he's going to different visits in schools.
Okay.
And we're doing a good coordination, especially next week, which is Teacher Appreciation Week. And this has never been done in Virginia before, so this is something that, and actually, the national bloggers like Diane Ravitch has actually talked about Governor Northam doing this, because I challenge people to find where a governor has done this before. So during Teacher Appreciation Week, I'm going to go in and substitute in different classrooms. The First Lady is going to go in. Chidi is coordinating all of that with the different offices. Justin Fairfax is going to go in. We have several elected officials.
4 of the board members on the Board of
Education. The Board of Education member is going to go in. Several General Assembly members are going in, and school board members and Board of County Supervisors, because we send letters to all of them. But the governor is going to go in and teach a lesson. Also, is going to be going in for Teacher Appreciation Week.
Which school? I mean, any?
Yep, we have it on. It's on the press release we sent out.
Norview High School in Norfolk.
Yeah. It's in the press release that was sent out today.
Oh,
AP
okay.
biology class. He'll be teaching anatomy and physiology.
Oh, very cool.
We just sent out sent out a press release, and the governor's schedule went out today too. I could forward it, but it's in the press release. Is the schedule in the press release?
I don't know if I got that or not. But,
yeah. So do you get the press releases?
I don't know actually.
Yeah.
I don't know if I got. I don't think I got that.
Yeah, well, I'll forward it to you. So you know Chidi's contact number. So Chidi put the press release together. So Virginia PTA and Virginia Lottery are all part of that effort, by the way, for for teacher appreciation.
Yeah.
We'll forward it to you. You don't get the press releases. You're not signed up for that.
I don't know. I don't know if you. Wait, do you have to sign up for what? Like you mean?
The email listserv that the press releases that everybody gets for the Governor Northam's press release.
I get Northam's, but
but
maybe it was under North. Maybe it was a Northam one. Not from. It wasn't directly from you guys.
No, it was from Governor Northam.
Oh, so maybe I did get it. I'll look again.
Yeah,
I got something from. I got his week in review. I got his appointments. I mean, who he appointed to the administration. I might get so many, like I might have just
inundated.
I might have deleted it. I'm not sure. I don't think so. But,
we'll send it to you.
I can check. Yeah, administration appointments. I got that one.
That's old. I'll forward it to you.
Okay.
But so that talks about what he's doing, and then we partnered with so we got Virginia Lottery that does a lot of thank a teacher stuff. So they're actually up their game this year. And then the Virginia PT is up their game. They're really highly engaged. We're getting 7-Eleven and other businesses. So there's a lot of businesses that have engaged in Teacher Appreciation Week. They're doing, going above and beyond. They're doing a lot more this year. So that's all part of that package that our office has been working really aggressively on. And Chidi was like coordinating so many 7-Elevens this morning with the corporate office. Like, I'm like, Chidi, what are you doing? We got a meeting.
Slurpee.
She's like multitasking everyone and doing all that great work.
Yeah.
So, but we wanted to send a message that the governor is highly engaged in education, and I really challenge everyone to see anywhere and you can find a governor that's that engaged and that actually going in the classrooms and doing this.
Yeah.
So we want to again send a message that hey, we really care about education. We want to elevate the profession of teaching, and what our goal is that all that stuff that we see next week, all the legislators, they'll provide like a kind of a launching pad for next session, and then for the budget and so forth. So that's our goal.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. What's up with G3? Now, how does that relate to all this? No, but what's up with it? I mean, he talked about it a million times during the campaign. Don't hear about it much anymore.
There's a lot of work being done on that. So what that will look like is you have Dr. Megan Healy, who is the governor's chief workforce advisor. That's the first time in Virginia's history that position was elevated to the cabinet level.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And she is working on Virginia Career Works. It was the first Virginia Career Works Center that was opened last week or week and a half ago in Roanoke. I don't know, did you read about that?
Yeah, I saw something about that. Yeah.
So if you want to look at Virginia Career Works, there's a lot of focus on workforce development and what, as part of our tour on some of these visits. So Megan and I like often attend meetings where we're trying to bridge the gap between the business and the education committee, and some of this is already happening in all parts of the Commonwealth where the chambers have engaged the school divisions and they're already communicating. But they're doing a lot of that in silos, so we're trying to, from our perspective, connect the dots and seeing what's really working well and share that those examples throughout the state. So we also travel together and it's all connected, so where her office is working closely with our office to bring the different stakeholders together.
What percentage of Virginia students now go to college or go right into the workforce? Do you know that?
That's a good question. I don't know the exact stats right off the top of my head, bro. I wish I did. That's a really good question. Of the 1.3 million, I don't know how many stay in the Commonwealth, because you can ask multiple questions, right? And when are they going to college?
Right. That's true. They could start working and then go. I mean, there are a million different paths.
Right. And we have to reshape our thinking too, right? Is that when we're tracking
the gig economy and the way it works now.
Yeah, we have
Let me
to
just restart this thing.